everyone. Welcome to another week of The Book Cellar. I'm your host and reviewing book goddess, Jessica Gillen, here to bring you another latest book review. This week is something different and out of our ordinary. It's going to be an adult mystery/thriller. The Woman in the Window by A.J. Finn. This show and all of its awesomeness is brought to you by Eventide Entertainment. So I wasn't kidding when I said that this is a completely different book than what I've been doing for the last, 4 or 5 episodes. So lately I have been on a young adult kick, a lot of fantasy as well as a realistic fiction that we just read last week, which is Turtles All the Way Down by John Green. If you have not heard that review yet, make sure to check it out if that book interests you. Keep in mind, it may be becoming into a movie. So I am always a big fan in reading the book first before you see the movie, but again, that really depends on your vibe and how you live your life. No judgment. So, kind of going on that same path, this is also a book that is going to be a movie. It has been confirmed. It is happening. And that book is The Woman in the Window by A.J. Finn. Now, this book is very recent and it has been getting a lot of buzz, mostly because it's kind of fitting in that Gone Girl, woman on the train or girl on the train kind of vibe. And we'll get into that a little bit. Let me just kind of break down some of the details as well as the book adaptation news that this book has surrounding it. So this book, like I said, was recently published in January 2nd, 2018. So only a couple months ago. And this was one that even before it released was already getting kind of shopped around at studios who wanted to buy the rights to film this. It is a semi-big book for most people that aren't huge readers, but for us readers that are comfortable with big books, this is easy. It is, at a hardcover edition, 427 pages. Now, mystery thrillers, which is what this book is genred in, tend to go by very quickly regardless of how many pages are in it, if the writing is well done. So yes, it is a big book, but the chapters are very, very quick. And so you have a lot of places where you can stop if you want to. But I find a lot of mystery/thrillers, I tend to just try to read in 1 to 2 sittings. So if I was you, make sure you have the time to sit down and really get into this book, because I really think that that's how you really get into the story, especially in a mystery/thriller. So, I mentioned that this is going to become a movie. That is confirmed, and we actually have a possible cast, as well as a director and a writer for the screenplay. For the screenplay. Wow, here we go, already starting. So, let's talk about that right now. So, it's in pre-production, and the movie rights were actually purchased by Fox, the Fox 2000 studio. They were very quickly on this. Like I said, this was, I want to say the buzz was already starting before it came out. So December, it was really getting a lot of hype. And the director is slated to be Joe Wright, and the screenplay writer is Tracy Letts. So they've already been confirmed as to being hired and part of the staff of this movie. Multiple reports that I've read and I've seen people kind of reference say that the main character, who is Anna Fox, will star Amy Adams. For those of you that don't know who Amy Adams is, she did Leap Year, as well as she's Superman's girlfriend, basically. So if you don't recognize the name, maybe just IMDb it. She is a big actress. I would say definitely A-list celebrity. So this movie is definitely going to get a lot of attention, and it's actually slated to come out in 2019. So they are moving quickly on this. So personally, after reading this book, I would say it's going to make a very good thriller. Not in the sense that, I feel like thrillers and mysteries sometimes get lumped into the horror movie category. And a lot of people don't like horror movies. I understand you don't like jump scares or gory things and things of that nature that usually come with horror movies. But I would say that this book is more leaning towards suspense. There's not a lot of violence. It's very much you trying to solve what happened. So I think that this is targeting the right audience and isn't going to ostracize people that don't like horror movies. This is not a horror movie. It's an action mystery thriller. All right, let's get into the description of the book, and then we will take a very short break, and then we'll dive right into my thoughts and feelings. Anna Fox lives alone in her New York City home, unable to venture outside. She spends her day drinking wine, maybe too much, watching old movies, and recalling happier times, and spying on her neighbors. Then the Russells move into the house across the way, a father, a mother, and their teenage son, the perfect family. But when Anna, gazing out her window one night, sees something she shouldn't, her world begins to crumble, and its shocking secrets are all laid bare. What is real? What is imagined? Who is in danger? Who is in control? In this diabolically gripping thriller, no one and nothing is what it seems. So I hope that kind of piques your interest. It definitely piqued mine. And we will take a quick break and we will dive into my thoughts and feelings. Stay tuned.
There's nothing quite as satisfying as a good conversation with intelligent company.
Join comedian Don Smith every week as he sits down and talks with comedians, actors, filmmakers, writers, and everyday schmoes. It's The Life with Don Smith, Wednesdays at noon on 106.9 FM, and now available on the Eventide Entertainment podcast feed every Friday on Spreaker, YouTube, and iTunes. Wednesdays on Eventide, Robert Yetter and Mike Shea sit down and throw albums at each other, talking about them, picking them apart, ripping them a new one. All different artists, all different genres, all different levels of suckage. It's Track Record, Wednesdays at 9 a.m. on the Eventide podcast feed. For more information, go to eventideent.com.
Hey, welcome back, and we're going to just jump right in and talk about this mystery thriller. So let's first break down the characters that this book centers around. The thing about this book is it's mainly just one character, but other characters do come in. They're definitely secondary, but they kind of add to the story. So we'll kind of briefly talk about them, but for the most part, we're sticking true to the main character. So the main character is Anna Fox. She is, I want to say, in her upper 30s, early 40s kind of age range. She is a child psychologist who, for the last year or so, has been suffering from arachnophobia. So for those of you that don't know what that is, because I didn't, it is an anxiety disorder characterized by symptoms of anxiety in situations where the person perceives the environment to be unsafe with no easy way to get away. In severe cases, such as our main character here, Anna Fox, they might actually be completely unable to leave their home due to this phobia. So Anna, she has this, so that causes her to be inside of her home. She does not want to leave her home. There's a severe amount of anxiety. She gets her groceries delivered. She gets her medications delivered. She has her tenant who lives kind of in the basement apartment that does a lot of the handyman type stuff. She has a physical therapist that comes to her house to help her work out and move. So she's able to get away with staying in her house I mean, I hope she's taking vitamin D, but, that's the most you could say. She doesn't like to open her windows even for a breeze. She likes it really dark in her home. It's really quite stuffy. It's the house that she lives in is described as either a 4 or 5-story home. Very old New York, probably very, very old Victorian home is kind of the feel I got, but very expensive. She lives in a very rich neighborhood. So she lives there by herself right now because of the situation with her family and herself. They don't live with her. You don't really know. I don't want to give anything away. So you don't know what happened to her, why she has this anxiety disorder. All you need to know is she's been living this way for the past 10 months to a year by herself in her home. So how she deals with this is she drinks a lot. She has various kinds of medications. I don't even know how many medications. She's a huge fan of the old school black and white movies, definitely the noir type movie. She has a online forum that's kind of like a self-help forum where she talks with other people that have this disorder, and they kind of communicate and encourage each other to get outside and, kind of help them get through this anxiety-filled time in their life. And because she was a psychologist, she actually is helpful, like one of the main, I would say, admins of the group. So people tend to come to her to talk and get encouragement from or ask questions too. She also plays a lot of online chess, and I believe they mentioned that she gets like French tutoring or something like that. Her therapist also comes to her house. I forgot to mention that. She does get therapy. So she has all of this going on. All the while, she does look outside of her windows with her camera. Before this happened to her, before she got this anxiety disorder, she was very much into photography, more nature stuff. But now that she's stuck in her home, she's very much interested in people's lives, especially her neighbors. So she tends to, I wouldn't say spy, but probably. She spies on her neighbors, keeps tabs on them, knows who's coming, who's going, who's having an affair. When one of the kids get late or miss curfew, she knows everything that goes on in the neighborhood. So, with that said, she comes off as very likable, but challenged given the fact that she does drink a lot. I would say for the most part, she's constantly drinking. I mean, the amount of red wine that this woman goes through is incredible to me. It's crazy. So definitely gives me a feeling of an alcoholic, but you have to understand that being inside your home, it probably is very lonely. She doesn't get a lot of people that come to see her. She doesn't have really any friends. So it's a really lonely life. So I can understand why she drinks, but it's a big issue, and she knows it. So she does come off as likable, and I myself felt I was rooting for her, especially when, she was processing her thoughts and the event that happens that this whole book surrounds. She kind of comes off very clear-headed, and I think that has to do with the fact that she was a psychologist, or she still is, I guess, but she's just not practicing right now. So she comes off very intelligent, very clear-headed. You kind of trust her, what she's thinking to be the truth or believable. But because she has this huge part of her life where she's filled with anxiety, she does come off very unreliable. So that's kind of going into the concept of the story. A lot of, when I mentioned in the beginning, a lot of books right now in this genre that are coming out recently, Gone Girl, Girl on the Train, they are about like unreliable women and unreliable people, and they witness something, they're in something, and no one believes them because they're alcoholics or they're abusing drugs or they have a prescription pill problem or something that makes them an unreliable source of information. And that is definitely in this book as well. Throwing that out there. So the supporting characters, I will only briefly mention. I'll tell you who they are. So we get a lot of her neighbors, her family, the tenant that lives downstairs in her apartment. It's not like creepy, he just lives in the basement or something. And her shrink. So you get a lot of dialogue between these characters and her. But the story definitely is centered around Anna and how she unravels the mystery. So yes, there's these other characters, but they're more like, think of it as a game of Clue. You're trying to figure out who is the cause of this big mystery. She's kind of piecing all the little puzzle pieces together, trying to recall her memory from the night that it happens, etc. So you kind of are getting dialogue with these other characters, but they're kind of like suspects or something. Definitely like a game of Clue. Which is usually what mystery thrillers strive to be, is not like just a game of Clue, but definitely who done it, who's the cause, what's the result. You're constantly reading these kinds of books and thinking in your head like, oh, this detail, or like I found myself rereading passages that I've already read pages and chapters ago just to see if I missed something, missed a clue or something to that effect. So let's talk about this plot. This definitely has a Gone Girl and Girl on a Train vibe, like I said. The premise of the story basically revolves around the main character, Anna, who has witnessed something, but is an unreliable source given her circumstances with her mental health, as well as her drug, alcohol, prescription abuse. So Anna has lived basically the last year of her life inside her home due to her extreme mental health issues. So she spends a lot of her time drinking, watching black and white movies, and keeping tabs on neighbors' comings and goings. One night, however, she sees something in her window that deeply troubles her, and it kind of forces her to act. She actually ends up going outside of her house, but this actually induces a panic attack, and she passes out. So you don't know what happens that night. The whole story is kind of her recalling pieces from that night, pieces of evidence that she has, and piecing them together and trying to understand the holes. Why is there holes in the story? What is she missing? Why doesn't she remember? Is she a reliable source of information? Was she so drunk that night that she's thinking something really happened when it didn't? That you're kind of going through that cycle with her, and she is thinking about all these possibilities all the time. So as the reader, you sometimes doubt if she is sound of mind, but she actually also begins to doubt herself in the book, so it's not like you're just alone doubting her. But what really happened? That's the whole plot. You've kind of the big mystery starts very early in the book. There is some setting up. I would say the first 50 pages or so are setting up, and then the mystery begins. The rest of the book is you piecing it together. So the writing. Although it is a 450-page book, or almost, and that can be pretty daunting. I mean, it's daunting to me sometimes, but I am comfortable with that page amount, especially in a mystery thriller. They usually tend to go by really quickly. So because it is such a big book, if it is done right, if mystery thrillers are done right, the pace just keeps going and you don't even realize that you're reading that fast, that you are like, it took me 4.5 hours at most to read this book. And that was mostly like I had to stop a couple times. There was one period where I actually stopped and went to sleep and then woke up and read the rest. So there was like some brief pauses, but for the most part, this was a straight through read. And I would say that most people could probably do this in 1 to 2 sittings for sure. The chapters are really quick. So it's not as if you're reading a ton of dialogue, a ton of information, and then you get reprieve when the chapter ends. It's kind of constant. The chapters maybe last 1 to 4 pages at most, and they're broken up into days. So it'll be like Monday, November 4th, or Tuesday, November 5th. It breaks it up like that as well. So sometimes you'll get multiple chapters in one day, and then other times you might just get a little chapter for one day. So it's all over the place. So the pace is really well done. The writing is really well done. And I think that was the main draw for me was, yes, this didn't have a lot of gore, if any. It wasn't scary. It definitely had thriller, suspenseful bits in it. The writing kind of made that keep, like, the pace was going. You didn't feel like there was like a lull. But I will say that the ending, it kind of happens. And I felt like there was so much build up to this that it just ended in a couple chapters, and that was kind of a letdown for me. And that tends to be something that I struggle with books. If it ends too quickly, I find myself really kind of wishing that there was a little bit more, that there was a little bit more mystery you could have pulled from me. So I really enjoyed the mystery thriller aspects of this book, as well as the mental health pieces. I mean, I learned about a disorder that I didn't really know about. I heard of this disorder, I just didn't know the name of it, but I really didn't understand that it was triggered by either a traumatic event or other mental health illnesses that the person may have, etc. So that was really cool. The writing, by far, was probably the best part of the book, and the main character. The plot was good. I did like it. Like I said, it just ended kind of weirdly, and I was wanting more out of it. But with that said, it is going to make an excellent movie. I really do think that. Gone Girl was really good in a movie, as well as Girl on the Train. I think that this is really going to hit that same target audience, and is going to do really well when it comes out in theaters. For me, I gave this a 3.5 to 4. I'm not sure which way I'm leaning right now. I just finished this last night, so I'm still kind of processing and thinking about how good of a book it was. I did like it. Obviously, it kept me engaged the whole time, so automatically I have to put I liked this book. Did I think it was fantastic? No. Did I think that there was pieces missing? Definitely. I felt like some of the twists were a little predictable, but there were a couple that kind of took you by surprise. I think it's just hard right now for people to come up with something new and original, and for people not to be able to predict, because there is a lot of foreshadowing in mysteries and thrillers. There is a lot of literary devices, especially for a reader, that we pick up on and we're able to kind of tune into that maybe the casual reader wouldn't. So, with that said, 3.5/4 stars. I would say for a seasoned reader, this may be predictable to you, but you may still like the writing and the character. For a casual reader, someone that just likes to pick up books every now and then, or kind of read what the latest is in this book community, I would say that this one is definitely really big right now. It took me at least a month to get this from my library. There was such a wait for it. So I did have to wait a long time. I actually reserved this back in February, and I didn't get it until April. So that just gives you an idea that this book is definitely on everybody's lips. If you're a casual reader and you're looking for something that just kind of keeps you entertained and you find yourself kind of engrossed in, I do recommend this to you. I do recommend it to everybody. Give it a shot. I like mystery thrillers, and it was definitely nice to get to read an adult book for a little while. I think mysteries, regardless of how long they are, tend to go by really quickly for me, versus a fantasy book really does take me multiple days to read. And that's just because there's a lot of descriptions, versus mysteries are very much on, they very much focus on the dialogue. So there you go. That's my review of The Woman in the Window by A.J. Finn. Remember, the movie comes out in 2019, so if you want to read this first, I'd say do it. Otherwise, I think you'll really enjoy the movie. If you liked Girl on the Train, I think this is the movie for you. By the way, I actually did do a podcast review of Girl on the Train. If you want to check that out, it is in my collection of episodes, as well as I did see the movie. So you get both the movie and the book review in that episode. I also think I did that episode with 2 of my friends, so it might be a little weird. It's not my normal quality, I guess, but it was still a really good review and very thorough, and you got multiple people's opinions. All right, so that's the end of April. That was our last episode of April 2018. I was thinking this week I'm definitely going to do a YouTube video of my May books that I'm going to be hopefully getting done this month. As well, I just did a Owl Crate unboxing. For those of you that don't know what Owl Crate is, it is a young adult book subscription box where you get all sorts of little goodies like candles or soap, tapestries, pillowcases that all have some kind of book reference, as well as you get a hardcover book every single month that's very, very either brand new that month or within the last 6 months. It is also a limited edition cover. They give an exclusive cover just for that subscription service, as well as the books are usually signed. So that's awesome. The prices are, I want to say it's about $35 a month plus shipping. So that might be different depending on where you're from, whether you're in the UK or in Canada or in the US. So check that out. Let me know what you think. I did do a video of it on my YouTube. I'm going to do an intro video this week, as well as my May books. I don't have any other videos up on my YouTube yet, but we're slowly getting there. And I'm just trying to do things kind of in one take with my YouTube videos right now, just because my laptop that I did do all my editing on has crapped out on me. Story of my life. So yeah, check that out. Let me know what you thought. If you have any thoughts about this book, please find me on Goodreads, email me, find me on Twitter. You have an array of ways to contact me. If there's a book that you're thinking I should read, please let me know as well. Hope you have a great week, and I'll see you next Sunday. Cheers!